Hello, everyone. Excited about the live today. It's my first live of 2025, which is amazing. Today is what? January 8th. Just opening up the chat here. So, live on multiple streams, or on multiple streams. I'm streaming on multiple platforms. Do not be shy. If you have any questions, put it in the chat. Today, we're going to be talking about creative financing, other people's money, buying deals, right, in 2025. So today I want to talk about multiple things. Okay, I want to talk about 4 different types of creative financing of other people's money that Mel and I utilize, and then I also want to discuss different countries, right, that we do this in as well. And if you're tuning in or if you're seeing me for the first time, so Mel and I, we live in North Bay, Ontario, Canada. All right, no one knows where that is. It's 3 hours north of, don't know what just happened here. Operation selection not available. There you go. That is literally 3.5 hours north of Toronto. Okay, just to give you a landmark, we invest in 5 different countries. So Canada, US, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Dominican Republic. In Canada, we're primarily in Ontario and Alberta. In the US, as of right now, we are in Texas, Florida, Ohio. In Costa Rica, we're on the west coast. If you know where Tamarindo is, around Tamarindo, just north, Cocoa Beach, Potrero, Acatal. And then our 10-unit hotel, short-term rental hotel, is just south of Tamarindo in Huancalal, the frozen tundra. Yes, and it was minus 24 degrees Celsius last night where I live in North Bay. It was the frozen tundra. In Mexico, we're doing Tulum, and in Dominican Republic, we're doing Punta Cana. Okay, so if you're having the excuse of, I don't live there, I can't do it, guys, I live in Northern Ontario, investing in 5 different countries. If I can do this, you can do this, okay? Something, you know what, I was actually walking through a building yesterday, one of our 5 plexes, and DSOP 66, that's exactly what happened. We were walking through with the maintenance guy, and I was looking at a unit. This unit, guys, I have owned this building since 2017. Yeah, it was one of my 12 properties in 12 months. Okay. This tenant lived there even before I owned the building. It had strong cat, ammonia smell. And finally, we're renovating it. So I was walking through that unit. They had taken all the carpets out and everything. But in the hallway, one of the electric baseboards was out, and I was like, "Hey, let's get the electrician here. It's going to be minus 24. We're going to have issues." So, yeah, things happen, right? Especially when if you're Northern Ontario or somewhere where there's snow and cold. But so today in the live that I'm doing, I always say we because it's always Mel and I. But in the live that we're doing, we're going to talk about agreement for sale, wrap mortgages, whether you're on the Canadian or the U.S. side, that's what dictates what it's called. We're going to talk about seller financing, where the seller actually holds a first or a second mortgage. We are going to talk about utilizing RRSP mortgages, or if you're on the US side, using 401k mortgages. We're going to talk about promissory notes as well, just a little bit. But talk to your lawyers, talk to your attorneys. It can be considered a security, so definitely talk to them about it. And then we're going to talk about 5 different countries. We'll mostly focus on Canada and the US. Sometimes I'll do lives mostly specifically on Costa Rica or specifically on Mexico or specifically on Dominican. But today's going to be mostly US and Canada. And the cool thing is US as a Canadian citizen or US as a US citizen, right? As a Canadian citizen, like I am, right? I'm a foreign national in the US. There are different stipulations. There are different rules. There's different things that you should be thinking about. So let's start talking about in the US first, because I know there's a lot of interest in the US markets right now. I know the Canadian government has done some changes and not necessarily beneficial, like the capital gains increase in, was it June or July, from 50% inclusion rate to 67% inclusion rate. They had done some things like that investors didn't necessarily love. I wasn't necessarily upset about it, because I'm more of a buy and hold investor. And when that ended up happening, I found that seller financing was even more of an attractive solution for people looking at selling their buildings, right? Because they want to help themselves tax-wise. So let's start off with the US. Okay, like I mentioned, Mel and I do this in Texas, Florida, Ohio. Let's focus on, where do I want to focus on? All 3 states, but just in general, purchasing. Now, what's the difference, right? What's the difference between those 3 states? The glaringly obvious thing is Ohio is so cost effective, right? Ohio, like, okay, think about this. Last year, Mel and I bought a triplex, so 3 units for $72,000. It's worth more now because renovating it and all that stuff. But where, okay, if you're in Western Canada, if you're in Western US, if you're from California or Vancouver or Toronto or Miami, and you're saying, Dave, a triplex for 72K? Yes, just south of Cleveland. This is why people flock to Ohio. Okay, so creative financing in Ohio, right? Wrap mortgages. That's a strategy that we utilize. This is where you don't necessarily need to qualify for financing. The seller basically keeps their mortgage. They keep the ownership, but you have a power of attorney. So you literally wrap a contract around the building and you control it. Okay. In Canada, oh no, that's right. I'm not talking Canada yet. Let me keep it on the US. Okay. Seller financing with mortgages. So even in the US, right, the seller can hold a first place note or a second place note for you. If they hold a first place note, first place mortgage, right? In the US, they call it notes. In Canada, it's mostly we call it mortgages, potato, whatever. If they hold a first place mortgage / note, that's going to be mostly like your lion's share. Okay, like the lion's share of the financing. If they end up doing a second place mortgage or note, right, through seller financing, this is typically where you will utilize it as your down payment. So when I do second place mortgages, I'm like, this is my downstroke. So I'm going to find an institution, a lender, a credit union, a hard money lender who is going to give me a first mortgage. Okay, so they're going to give me a first mortgage. They are content with the fact that they have security in first place over the asset. Okay, they say, Dave, you know what? I'm in first place. I've given you a mortgage at, I don't know, 65%, 75%, 80% loan to value. So I'm only 80 cents on the dollar or 65 cents on the dollar, basically the way to look at it. Whether you want to put a second mortgage behind me is your problem. That's up to you. I'm in first place. Like I'm getting my money, right? Some of them will sometimes say, I'm okay if you put a second behind me, as long as you still have the certain ratios. And some of them will say no seconds. And I don't deal with those because I like putting second mortgages behind it. You know what's funny is at the banks, they know what Mel and I do, right? So whenever I'm signing for a mortgage, and I'm sidebarring here, whenever I sign for a mortgage, the mortgage brokers or the financial institutions will say, like, if I'm going to an A lender, and they'll be like, just remember, Dave, there are no mortgages behind this one, right? And I'm like, I know, I've already gotten my lift. I've already done that with this building. I'm bringing it to you now because I want to let it ride in the sunset. But it's just funny because they're like, okay, highlight that section of the contract. You are not to do this. And I'm like, I know. So those are types, in the US that we utilize. Another one as well is using 401k. Actually, you know what? Let me talk about this for the US. Whether you are a Canadian citizen or a US citizen, okay? And let me talk about Canada buying in the US first. So let's say you're in Canada like Mel and I, and you have, I don't know, $100,000 in your RRSPs, in your TFSA, in your LIRA, locked in retirement account. You can use your own RRSPs, TFSAs, or LIRA to buy a place in Florida. Let's say you're like, you know what, I'm tired. It's minus 24 degrees Celsius where Dave is. I'm tired of living in, I got to get away to get in some sunshine. I got to get some vitamin D. I got to get away. You can buy an asset in the US with your own RRSPs. Okay, you're hearing me correct. You can use your own registered funds. There's a certain way to do it, and that's how we show, but you can do it. If you're in the US, you can use a Canadian's RRSPs to buy a property for yourself in the US, right? It's a form of other people's money. If you're a US citizen, you can use someone else's 401k to buy your property in the US. Okay, registered funds, Canadian, retirement funds, US, can be utilized to purchase income properties, or even if you want to buy a single family home for yourself. But you have to have an exit strategy, right? But you can use those in the US. Okay. Excuse me. That is something that is super powerful. I have so many Canadians that talk to me and they're like, are you serious? I can use my RRSPs instead of putting them into a mutual fund or whatever. I can seriously, hey, I just found a case. Been looking for this. My gosh, I haven't been in the studio since this is the first time in the studio in the new year. I've been looking for that case for anyway. But what was I saying? Yeah, you can use your own registered fund. So instead of hey, I'm going to give it to a mutual fund or I'm going to invest it in the stock market or whatever it is, imagine you took your own registered funds, bought your own short-term rental property in Texas, in Florida, in Arizona, in Nevada, in wherever, it doesn't matter. And then you rented it out short-term rental. And I love talking about this when it's winter because all the Canadians are going, yeah, get me out of here. You invest in your own short-term rental, you visit it. Think about this. You visit it, you get a trip. You can have a tax write-off. I'm not saying you write off everything, but it could be because you're visiting your property following up. And then the rest of the year, you rent it out short-term rental. Just saying, right? That's what Mel and I do in Florida. My mom just booked, actually. I haven't even talked about it on social media. My mom's going to utilize one of our properties in Florida in May, which is awesome. You can also gift it to family, right? Mel's parents used our property in Costa Rica for their 50th wedding anniversary. That's what real estate's about, is giving back. Anyway, so you can do that. Other things in the US on how to buy properties as well. What did I talk about? Wrap mortgages, seller financing using registered or retirement funds. Promissory notes. Now, again, I cannot stipulate enough. If you are, it's a contract. I'll just talk how I use it. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm not telling you how not to do it. I'm not a lawyer, not an attorney, not an accountant, not a CPA. I'm not a lot of things. I'm a real estate investor, okay, with no letters after my name. Just been there, done that. But what I'm getting at here is we utilize promissory notes. When you break it down, it's a contractual agreement. It's a lender lending money to a borrower, and the borrower saying, I will pay you back at this date and time with this amount of interest. I'm utilizing it for this, whether there's collateral or not. Anyway, talk to a lawyer, talk to an attorney, talk to a notary, talk to someone who is a legal representative, because this can be considered as securities, okay? So definitely do your due diligence. But we use these to purchase assets. So we'll use them for down payments on a property. We'll use it for closing costs on a property. We'll use it for renovations. We'll use it for carrying costs, right? If I'm buying an asset and it's empty and I need to renovate it and get it up to par to rent it out or to sell it or to refinance it or whatever my exit strategy plan is on it, every month the mortgage keeps coming out and the bills need to get paid, and that's carrying costs, right? So we'll utilize those strategies for that as well. Oh, if you have questions, please put them in. I see some. I'll get to them in a minute, guys, in a second. In a minute. There it is. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put in the chat. The team just sent me this. Copy link. I'm going to put something in the chat because Mel and I go live. Boom, tomorrow night. Mel and I go live tomorrow night. We talk about this in more depth with some slides and with some pictures and some deal analyzation as well. It's completely free. You get our webinar. You actually get our free Amazon best-selling book too, if you attend and sign up. Okay, so what was I getting at? Yeah, we use it for carrying costs. We use it for different things in the US as well. Now, buying in the United States, right? Whether you're Canadian, whether I help people in Mexico buy in the US. I've helped people from India buy in the US. I've helped people from the Philippines buy in the US. So you don't necessarily need to be just Canadian or US citizen to buy in the US. The strategies that Mel and I implement can be, if you're a foreign national, meaning you're not a US citizen, you're a foreign national, right? It's it affects you more back home. So whether you're a Canadian buying in the US, whether you're Costa Rican buying in the US, whatever it is, the actual physical buying the property in the US is fairly similar. How it differs is back home in your home country, how you're going to be treated tax-wise and dual taxation, all of that stuff. That's the biggest ambiguity, and that I can introduce you to international accountants anyway. But buying in the US, different things, right? So the way Mel and I do it, we have a new LLC for every single asset that we purchase. And you might be thinking, Okay, but Dave, there's setup costs every time. Every time you go to like tax time's coming around the corner, right? I was talking to my accountant. Oh, I'll talk about with the accountant. Remind me in a minute for a couple minutes from now. There's accounting fees, there's attorney fees, there's setup fees, tax time. You gotta like. So Dave, you have to file an income tax return to the IRS for all the LLCs that you have. No, I do not, because that would just be bonkers, right? There's a way that you can do it that you basically take. So let's say if I have 10 LLCs. I can basically bring it all up to the top, right? And it's again, whether it's a LP at the top, whether it's a C corp at the top, whether it's an S corp at the top. S corp Canadian citizens cannot own. You have to be a U.S. citizen, right? Whatever it is, there's a way in the U.S. you can, like my noise, bring it to that one entity and have that one file for everything. Okay, so that's very handy in the U.S. In Canada, I have to file a return for every single one of my corporations. But in those corporations, I have multiple deals. Okay, I don't have just one like in the U.S. Some differences. What was I saying? So that's a huge pro in the U.S. for that is you can literally have one return with, and again, talk to the CPAs, talk to the accountants, which I am none. But that's a huge pro in the U.S. I file one return and I'm done. It's beautiful. I file one return, but they do a bunch of work within that return. Okay. The other thing too, now a con of buying in the US, and I have our attorneys come and they present inside of the Action family, and I'm just literally going to repeat what they say. So this isn't Dave saying it. It's our investor focused attorneys that help us. Well, they set up all my stuff in the US. They just set up our new business, right? The Deals Action Profit, which is the new AI app that we've got coming out soon. We're just working through some things, but that will be launching. And this, in my opinion, it's an AI app on how to buy in the US. And I'll be doing webinars, guys, where I'm sharing my screen and I'm showing you it's using touch points that is bonkers. It can predict if someone is going through a divorce, if someone has a contract lien or a mechanic lien against a property, if someone is back on their taxes, if someone is bored, if someone has owned the property and is free and clear, if they're most likely to sell in the 90 days. The AI uses like millions of touch points to be able to determine, I think this property is going to get listed in the next 90 days or sold. And then it lets you know how to reach out to them so that you can get those off-market deals. It blows my mind. I'm sure you can tell how passionate I am. We haven't launched it. It's not officially yet. It's coming. It's right there. We're just making sure everything is buttoned up. But I'll be doing lives on that, and it's going to be revolutionizing how to find deals in the U.S. Okay. Anyway, cons on the U.S. Like I was saying from the attorneys, the U.S. is litigious, and I'm just using the exact words that the attorney uses. So the reason Mel and I have LLCs, each entity has each asset has their own LLC, is because the states is litigious. Right, I want oh gosh, I always butcher this word, anonymity, especially with my Invisalign that I got in. I butcher words all the time now. What was I going to say? That's the case I found a while ago, was my Invisalign case. But what was I saying? Anonymity is huge in the U.S. Okay, it is so important. Okay, so that's the priority there. Anonymity and tax wise structured as well. So that's buying in the U.S. Now the cool thing is, buying in the US, Mel and I have, hey, Kirk, awesome. Mel and I have a lot of different contacts, right? If you're part of the Action family, if you're part of our communities, we're able to introduce you to the same attorneys that we use, right? You know how many frogs I've kissed? Like, not every attorney knows how to do 401k mortgages, knows how to set up Canadians or foreign nationals or even US citizens on how to best structure their business, right? There's a lot of different moving parts in that. We have turnkey deal providers as well, right? Which is super awesome. I actually did a live with them yesterday. Where is that? Here. Since you're part of the Investor Mel and Dave community, I'm going to post it right here. If you're looking, hello, I'm seeing hellos. Can't post to some channels. My gosh, I can't even see what I'm doing here. There we go. This is actually this is turnkey providers in the US. They hook you up. I bought a deal through them in Ohio last year. It's probably been the easiest property I've ever owned. So easy, so passive. Anyway, we'll talk about that. Okay, Frozen Tundra. Tito had, hello, Dave. I have questions. If I am limited partner, can I use the rental property's income for getting a new rental property? I guess, excuse me. I think if you're in a GPLP setup, I would talk to the accountants, but I wonder, like, it would stipulate what your operating agreement says. I think it's all in the actual setup, to be honest with you. But I would look at what your setup says, your operating agreement. If it is a joint venture, if there is multiple partners, what what was established and what was allowed. But I would look at that first, and I would talk to the accountants and the attorneys as to what you are able to do in that GPLP setup. Kirk, incredible. Sita, hello, Sita. Sita, I feel like you and I chatted recently. Yeah. Sita, you're part of the action. Yeah, we chatted. Yeah. What am I talking about? Dave, too much coffee for you. Okay. So that was buying in the US. Does anyone have questions about buying in the US, whether you're a US citizen, whether you're a Canadian citizen, whether you're somewhere else in the world and you are a foreign national? Do not be shy. I know I'm live on multiple platforms here. So whether you're on YouTube, ask away. Whether you're on Facebook, ask away. Whether you're on Instagram, ask away. TikTok, you're quiet today. Usually you're lighting up the chat, making appropriate / inappropriate comments at times. But yeah, buying in the US. Now people ask, Dave, why did you pick Ohio? Why did you pick Florida? Why did you pick Texas? Investor friendly is at the forefront, right? Being landlord friendly, investor friendly. Like Florida, the state tax, right? Texas, very landlord friendly as well. Ohio's so affordable. There's different tax plays as well. So, and again, talk to CPAs, guys, and I can introduce you to them. But there's different tax plays as well. So, for example, hey, where'd it go? The different tax plays that I'm talking about is, for example, Texas. If you buy a property that's worth X amount of dollars in Texas and X amount of dollars in Florida, right, from a tax perspective, the land portion of that asset in Texas will be cheaper versus the land portion, and I'm talking general here, guys, when the land portion in Florida will be more expensive. So when you're looking at when you're looking at tax strategies and that, the asset is taxed differently than the land, right? Land can't necessarily be depreciated. Again, I'm not a CPA here, guys, but so all that comes into play. Like it's a bigger picture when you're looking at overall stuff with real estate. Okay. So if I don't see any more questions for the US, let's pivot to Canada. Okay, so Canada, let's talk about the 4 different types of creative financing that Mel and I do in Canada as well. So for example, let's start with AFS, Agreement for Sale. That's the same that I was talking earlier about wrap mortgages in the US. So I'll just use my deal in Edmonton, right off of White Ave. If anyone knows Edmonton, it's right off of White Ave, okay, which is a popular street in Edmonton, in the Strathcona district. Just to give you some landmarks here. It's close to the University of Alberta. It's a very popular area. That's why we picked it. A lot of young professionals who are able to pay a good rent and they want to be close enough to some action while not being downtown. Where was I going? Wrap mortgages. So no, that's the US. My bad. Agreement for Sale, AFS. This is where, so let's just use my deal. The owner of the asset lives in Calgary. So he still owns the property that I have. He still has the mortgage for the property that I have. Okay. So I don't own it and I don't have the debt on the property. What I do have is a agreement for sale, an AFS. Okay. And that is literally just like the wrap mortgages in the US. I'm literally controlling that asset. I have a contract that ties up that property. I have a power of attorney over it. And I've also registered a caveat with the land registry. So even if let's say that person tries to sell it, no. The lawyers, anyone who goes to close that deal will see, no, my Ontario Inc. company has a caveat and a power of attorney. They cannot do that, right? I control the asset for the amount of time that we have in our contract. So this is a very, very, very attractive way of buying deals. Let me put the link if you're interested. Where'd it go? Actually, okay, this is Canada. Yeah, let me talk Canada, and I'll talk Mexico later. So this is actually, where's the chat? There we go. Okay, this is the Investor Mel and Dave community list. Okay, go there, and there will be Canadian agreement for sale deals. Make sure you tell them you come from us. There are different incentives. Any place that I refer you guys, again, Mel and I negotiate things. I negotiate things specifically for the Action family. I negotiate things specifically for our IMD community, okay? Anyone that I say, hey, I introduce you to, you get extra benefits. if you just say I'm, Joe Blow off the street, okay, cool. But if you say I'm from the Investor Mel and Dave community or the Action family, you get extra benefits that Mel and I have negotiated. Okay. Anyway, that's some agreement for sale deals. Now, so what ends up happening with this is you can control the asset. So this deal I did, it was just shy of 2 years. It was 22 months. I'm going from memory here, guys. I closed it in July, right? So whatever the math is there, 22 months minus we're January. I talk with my hands. I'm French. So anyway, I did not have to qualify for that deal. There was zero qualifying. I did my due diligence. That deal was closed within, I think, it was 5 days, because the extra 2 days I was waiting for the lawyers to look at the caveat. But this is a deal, agreement for sale, done completely with none of my own money, with no financing, with no pre-qualifying, with no credit check, none of that. That is the beauty of it, because the guy who sold it to me, he qualified for the mortgage. He has the debt on the property. I just have the contract around the deal that allows me to rent it out. And at the end of the term, I can sell it. And right, Edmonton's booming. So I'm going to be making money on that when I sell it 22 months down the road. Or I can say, you know what? I'm going to absorb it in my portfolio. I'll get a mortgage without a down payment, because I've done the math, and the 75% loan to value will equate to what I owe. So I'll just do a refinance, no cash out. I'll just absorb it in my portfolio, own it as a refinance. The bank will pay him out, and I got a deal for $20K or $23K on that specific deal. So agreement for sale is a beautiful thing. That's the list. Check it out. Let them know you're part of the Investor Mel and Dave community of the Action family, and if you are part of the Action family. But that's agreement for sale. Another type of seller financing in Canada is when you buy the deal and the seller holds the mortgage for you. So kind of like the US, like I was talking earlier, it can either be a first place mortgage, just like a bank. When you go to the bank and they give you a mortgage and they're giving you the lion's share of the deal, you can do the exact same thing with seller financing. Okay. They literally insert bank, right? They're Chase, or their Chase Bank, their Bank of America. And I'm talking Canada. So, or their TD Bank, or their Scotia, whatever bank you want to insert here. That's what the seller ends up literally doing. And I know people, I remember back in the day when the mortgage broker, Todsky, was introduced to you. And if you're listening to this, Todsky, love you, brother. But when he first talked to Mel and I about creative financing, I get goosebumps. I think of those days in the beginning, it was so fun. But in the beginning, when he said that to me, I was like, whoa, I'm a firefighter. I can't jeopardize my job with these illegal loans, with these loan sharks, with these Hells Angels, with these mafia. I'm like, creative financing? I don't think so. Anyway, now I'm on a live talking about creative financing with you all, but it's not that at all. It's the exact same process as a bank doing the mortgage. Okay. Now the qualifying will be up to the lender. So let's just give him or her a name, John Smith or Jane Smith, doesn't matter. John Smith, Jane Smith sells you 123 Main Street. You and Jane Smith decide that she's going to hold the first place mortgage for you. Jane Smith can ask you for very little, right? When I bought my property in Costa Rica, actually, I'll talk about that with Costa Rica. I'll leave that for that country. When I bought my property there with seller financing, nothing. No, sorry, Dave, stop talking Costa Rica. We're talking Canada. What deal did I want to use here in Canada? Actually, yeah, that one. This was a 5-plex with 2 commercial on the bottom and 3 commercial on the bottom, 2 residential apartments up top. Never talked to the seller, never provided anything. They were comfortable with the fact that they held a first place mortgage in first place security, right? First place lien at the land registry office. They were comfortable with that. So it's just like a bank, right? You negotiate everything with them. Second place mortgage in Canada. Exact same thing as the first place. It's just, instead of being first place or first to register at the land title, you are second. So if they registered on January 7th and I'm registering on January 8th, I'm in second place. I am after them. Okay. And again, I'm not a lawyer, guys. Talk to lawyers about this. But what I use second mortgages for, when the seller is holding a second mortgage for me, my down payment. Right? My down payment, the building that I'm in right now, I bought it for $2.2 million in 2020. In my opinion, it is worth at least 3.3, hopefully 3.5 or 6, depending on which cap rate you use. The seller held a second place mortgage. What was it again? Was it 35%? Wasn't it 780,000? No. What was the amount? 2.2 times 35%. Yeah, it was $770,000 that they held. Let's just call it 800K. Who wants to come up with 800K? Not this guy. So the seller, I actually saw him at the bank yesterday. Great guy. I haven't seen him in years. And that's a great report because I've paid him back. He actually held 2 mortgages for me. One on a 17 plex and one on this one, which has 18 apartments, residential, and 5 commercial. Excuse me. Right? Why would he do that? Because it benefited him. So he actually held a second place mortgage. So he was behind the credit union, right? And he held the second mortgage for me, which was my down payment. Okay. So that's one of my favorite forms of creative financing in Canada as well. Let's talk about the third one, using registered funds. Okay. So what are registered funds? In Canada, they're called RRSPs, TFSAs, LIRA. Remember US I was talking earlier, 401k and Roth IRA? Same difference, guys, just different names, a little bit of different regulations, but you can, let's say if you have your own RRSPs, can you buy your own property in Canada? Yes, but it's going to be an owner occupied and it's going to be a one and done. And it's, in my opinion, it's not really an investment strategy because you can't do it's a one and done. Can you use your own RRSPs to buy multiple income properties in Canada? Not necessarily. Okay. Right? Like I mentioned earlier, you can use your own RRSPs to buy in Costa Rica, to buy in Florida or US. Like you can do that, but to use your own, not necessarily. Okay. Because they want it arm's length. Anyway, arm's length? Yeah, arm's length. And they consider that non-arm's length. But what am I getting at here? You can use other people. So what Mel and I love doing, I love using other people's RRSPs, TFSAs, LIRAs to buy my own income properties. And same thing like the seller financing, we can either put that in first place or we can put that in second place. Okay. Here, let me put, there you go. We're going to be talking about this more and more tomorrow. Okay. Mel and I go live Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'll actually show you slides with seller financing mortgages, with RRSP mortgages, with promissory notes, with agreement for sales. I'll be showing slides and some numbers and some breakdown and some cash flow on that webinar. And even if you can't attend, register. You'll get the replay. You get our Amazon best-selling book, our first book that Mel and I ever wrote, and check it out. But yeah, you can use someone else's RRSP. So let me give you an example. What deal do I want to use? In the webinar, I give you an example on a 5-plex tomorrow. So I'll keep that one for tomorrow. Another example that I did is on our lake house. If you've been following our stories and you've seen Mel and I snowmobiling in the winter, right? Or on the pontoon boat in the summer. That is our lake house. It's like 15 minutes from me in North Bay, Ontario, Canada, where I live. Okay, it's on Trout Lake. I bought that with other people's money. Like, think about that. I bought a secondary dwelling with other people's money. Why? Because I had the exit strategy. So I went to a mortgage broker in town, great guy here, and he said, Dave, I'll give you a first mortgage. And just like I said earlier, he said, I don't care. Not him, sorry. The person, the private lender who is giving you the first mortgage that I'm facilitating does not necessarily concern themselves with how you're coming up with your down payment. They don't necessarily concern themselves with having a second mortgage behind that. Okay. So got a first mortgage from a private lender through a mortgage broker, got the down payment from someone's RRSPs. Okay. Yeah, hers was 90 or 100K. Anyway, so she put the money down. Mel and I went in. We did a classic BRRRR. What's a BRRRR, guys? Buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. The only one we didn't have: buy, renovate, rent, take away the rent. We didn't rent it. We're the renters. We're the ones paying the bills. Well, not me. Our buildings are paying the bills. But classic, basically took an asset here, brought it to here, made it nice, refinance, paid everyone out. Okay. And now it's, our assets pay for that. So you can do that even for a secondary dwelling as well. Okay. Creative financing can work for, even if you want to buy your own house or you want to do house hacking. So anyway, you can do RRSP mortgages in Canada as well, just like you can in the US. Okay. Can't stress that enough. Promissory notes. How do we use that form of creative financing in Canada? Again, every time I talk promissory notes, I want to talk lawyers. I want to talk securities. Guys, I am not a lawyer. Do not take this as legal advice. Do not take this as any advice, accounting, nothing. I'm just talking about how I do promissory notes. So please talk to a lawyer, please talk to a notary, whatever legal rep you got, as it can be considered a security. Okay. Cannot stress that enough. So I use promissory notes for different things. So I'll use promissory notes, like I mentioned, just like in the US, I'll use them for carrying costs. Okay. I'll use them for closing costs. I'll use them for down payments, right? I'll use them for, well, okay, think about this. When you use someone's RRSPs as a second mortgage, they'll give you a ceiling. So let's just use some numbers. Let's say you, what number do I want to use? Let's just use easy math. Let's say it's $1 million property you bought. And private lender, credit union, whoever the mortgage broker ended up finding you says, I will give you a first place mortgage of 75% loan to value. Easy math, that's $750,000. We're 3/4 of the way financed. Then you find someone who has RRSPs. Okay. I'm using a Canadian example here. And you're looking for the difference. Okay. So I got 75% of the way there. Let's just use even easier. 80%. Let's say the first mortgage is 80% loan to value. And you have someone with RRSPs and you say, hey, I want to use yours. You will have a ceiling, right? The regulators or the people that, not commissioners, the not adjudicators, administrators. There's the word I'm looking for. The administrators have a ceiling. Okay. So the first mortgage gave you 80%. The person with RRSPs can now give you up to 90. So they can only give you 10%, right? In this deal, that's $10,000 or $100,000, excuse me, right? So $800,000 from the mortgage, first place, another $100,000 to bring you from 800 to 900. Now, what do you do with that last $100,000, right? In this made up $1 million purchase? Because you want, well, the way I do it, I want to be as little of my own money in the deal and as high with other people's money and creative financing in the deal. And guys, I say this with an asterisk. You have to have a plan to pay it back. I do not touch a dollar. I do not touch a cent. I do not do any deal if I do not have a plan to pay it back. It's called the exit strategy that Mel and I teach in our Action Family Mentoring program. We've actually had our cash flow analysis matrix trademark. This is the tool that we use. Okay. Anyway, so don't mess around with people's money. If you can't pay it back, don't touch it. I cannot stress that enough. That's how we all see people going, it's in the news. People are going belly up. People are getting hurt. It's because they don't have an exit strategy. They didn't think ahead. They didn't make a plan. Okay. So don't do that. Now, in this made up scenario again, so now I'm left with $100,000 that I need to come up with. Mel and I have utilized promissory notes to do so, right? We've used promissory notes to act as that last amount of funds that we need to close the deal. So that's an example, another example of what we do with promissory notes and creative financing. Okay. Any questions on the Canadian market? And we'll be touching on this in our webinar tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. And again, if you can't be there, cool. Sign up, get the replay, watch it whenever you want. Watch it Saturday morning with some coffee. Watch it Sunday morning with some coffee. You're driving somewhere, listen to it. You don't need to watch it, just listen to it. But the biggest thing is you also get our Amazon best-selling book. Sorry, one of our Amazon best-selling books. Mel has 3. I have 2. I wasn't invited. She had a woman's only book that I did not get invited to. We're actually working on a 4th book right now. Hey, I got to figure out where we're at with that. That'll be releasing this year too. Any Canadian questions, guys, on how to do creative financing, other people's money in Canada specifically? Or you know what, or the US? Any questions whatsoever on Canada, the US? Let me see. Okay, Kirk. Okay. Where'd it go? Kirk has, how would you recommend the best way to start connecting with the right people? Let me show it right here. Okay, how would you recommend the best way to start connecting with the right people to partner with and build a team? I've been connecting online, but feel it is not the most impactful way to build that community of people with all the avatars. I can't see it all. Do I just look up meetups and places and I invest and get over there? I get mind blocks on this. Okay, so Kirk, are you part of the Action Family? I feel like you are. I'm referring to you, Wes. Kirk, are you part of the Action Family? I wonder if Kirk is still online. I can never know how to tell if someone's online or not. Okay, whether you are or not, I feel like Kirk is. again, this is why Mel and I created the groups that we have, right? The Action Family Mentoring Program, guys. I even wear it on my. I love the Action Family. Yeah, I got some nice Under Armour Action Family shirts. I'm loud and proud about it. This is a community that Mel and I have built. Okay, and if you're interested, guys, we have the webinar tomorrow night, or DM us the word action, and we can chat. I'll call you directly. I'm so passionate about it. I want to make sure that we have all, just good apples in the group. I'll call you directly and we can chat next steps. But what was I saying? We created it's a group of 2,200 individuals who have all invested in themselves, have all got trained, coach, mentoring by Mel and I. They all know how to use the cash flow analysis matrix. They understand the importance of an exit strategy, how to pay people back, and how to not touch any money unless you know how to do that. Cannot stress that enough. Um, just think about this and hear me out. Okay. You're probably thinking, oh my gosh, Dave gets super passionate when he talks about exit strategy. Dave gets super passionate when he talks about, I'm talking about myself in like the third tense here, the third term or whatever, the third, anyway, I get so passionate when I talk about it because think of the weight, think of the severity, and think of why you should be taking it serious. When I borrow $100,000, when I borrow, there's one lady right now. She has lent us $250,000, and she has lent us $100,000. She has lent us a total, and we've done this multiple times with her. I love her. She's easy. She gets it. Anyway, she amazing person. We've done this multiple. I get goosebumps when I talk about her because I love her. Anyway, we've done this multiple times. It's so easy. She gets us. We get her. We talk terms. Anyway, I don't look at this as just money. And when you're raising capital, I don't want you to look at this as just money either. And what I mean by this is this lady's retirement. This is this lady's life savings. This is this lady's nest egg. And she has entrusted Mel and I because she understands our knowledge, she understands our experience, she understands our exit strategies. She has entrusted us with all of those things, nest egg, retirement, all the money she saved up in her life. I think she has more money to invest with us, but I want to find the perfect deal. She has all of that, and she has lent that to us. So it's not just money that you're raising, it's all of that. Okay. It's someone's world. So when we raise other people's money in creative financing, I'm not just looking at dollars and cents. And I want you guys to think the same. So if you're thinking, oh yeah, Dave talks creative financing, it's not just that. It's how, like at the forefront, Mel and I say it all the time. You have to exit the deal before you enter. I have to know how Mel and I are going to write this lady a check back for her life savings plus the interest that we agreed upon on the timeline that we committed to, or otherwise I don't do the deal. Okay, so guys, and I know I'm really stressing this, it's because we've seen it in the news, right? You guys see it. There's been some big conglomerates that have gone down. They've gone belly up. They've been in trouble. So Mel and I have always paid everyone back on time with the interest early because that's how I look at it going in. I treat everyone as though this is my mom. I would never rip off my mom. And that's how I'm respecting their money, right? And I want you guys to look at it too. Like, think about it. Hey, you wouldn't want someone ripping off your mom, then that might be someone's mom. So again, when you're looking at other people's money, think of it of that way. Of hey, I'm treating this money as though it was my own mom's money. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. Gloria, still paying off debit and saving money. Hope to start in 2025. Giorgio, yeah, 100%, man. Mel and I are not going anywhere. You know what's awesome? I talk to people all the time, right? Because if people want to join the Action Family, I call them directly. I want to make sure that these people are the Action Family culture, that they're law of reciprocity, give more than you take. Anyway, all of that, the above, okay? And sometimes I'll talk to people and 6 months later, a year later, I've had someone that I talked to 3 years later. He's part of the Action Family now. He's out in British Columbia, and he's like, Dave, I want to join the Action Family, but I'm scared. Actually, let's talk about this. Fear of failure. Mel and I were just working out. We've got a gym here in our office, and I was listening to some motivational stuff, and they were saying that the biggest thing, and feel free to comment in the chat. Do you agree with this? FOF, fear of failure. Do we agree that that is something that is stopping a lot of you? Do a lot of you want to get started? You're thinking, Dave, that sounds awesome. I want real estate. Oh, remind me, accountant. I love real estate. It sounds like amazing. I want to build a portfolio. I know it's solid, tangible. I should have done it 20 years ago. I should have done it 10 years ago. I should have done it last year. Is there anyone that's having that fear of failure? And they said there's the antidote to FOF, fear of failure, is commencing, starting. They said there's two parts to it. Number one is starting. Okay, and it's 2025 now, guys. This is going to be a huge year. We're in a really cool spot in the market cycle. We're coming into a decreasing interest rate market. The Fed and the Bank of Canada announce again on January 29th. We're literally in a really awesome market cycle that we don't get often. We're coming off of a market that the interest rates went like this, then like this. Now we're at the decrease. We're in a cool spot. That doesn't happen very often. Mel and I are going to buy lots of real estate this year. We've made our goals. We're going to help a lot of people in the Action family, and we're going to buy a lot of real estate. We're going to put a dent. What I'm getting at is that the fear of failure, the antidote to fear of failure is commencing, starting. Now, there's two parts to the starting, like I said. Everyone is always, when they start, they're looking at the end. They're like, that's where I want to be. That's what I want to get. But it's just not making sense. Okay, I think I want to invest here, but then what about financing? What about business structure? What about property management? What about renovations? What about taxes? What about and then they just go, oh, I'm done. It's this. And then that stops them from taking the first step, whether it's Canada or US, like I know we were talking about earlier. And it really hurts people. And when I talk to them, I see the fear and I see the pain in their eyes. And I'm like, guys, I know you want this. I know you want the end result. And I know you can't see how to get there. And I know you're scared. But it's taking the first step, even if you don't know what the next step is the only thing that is going to get you any closer to your goals. And I see people, like when I talk to them, like sometimes they're sweating and they're like, oh my gosh. And you just see that fear and the anxiety and they're it handcuffs them. And I'm like, okay, keep going, go past that. Like that, the fear of failure it will never go away. You have to just keep going past it. That's the first step. Antidote is start. Even if you don't know what the next step is, even if you don't completely understand the process, even if you don't think that you're going to do it, you have to start. What's the alternative? Not doing anything? Nothing changes. Nothing changes. So when people are scared, the first step is just to start. This is why we call it the Action family. You have to take the action. I just did a story. Wherever you're following me, go check out a story. I don't know if the team has approved it or not. It's literally, where is it? Stories for approval. Here, I'll get it here. Approved. They're going to post it. It's literally me in the gym. Here, let me give you behind the scenes here. It's literally me in the gym on the whiteboard. And one of the lines that I live by is action and execution is all that matters. Okay? That'll get posted. If you're not following us on Instagram or Facebook, at Investor Mel Dave, because that's what all that matters. Step one is taking action. Step two of commencing, which is the antidote to fear of failure, is commitment / what's the word I'm looking for? Not continuous. Consistency. So when you decide, okay, 2025, you're on a live with me right now, you could be anywhere in the world. You could be scrolling TikTok and doing this and getting your dopamine hit. But instead, you're listening to some bald guy in North Bay, Ontario, Canada, talk about US and Canadian real estate, okay? Which I appreciate. I love it. Hopefully, you're following me on whatever platform you're on. And if you're on this platform and already follow me, go to the other platforms and follow us. We do different content. But that is some secret sauce. When people are scared, they have to take the first step. They have to take action. Cannot stress that enough. And then they have to be consistent, because I see this too. Like, again, people will talk and they'll start off and, okay, I took the first step, Dave. Okay, amazing. I love it. Whether it's with me, whether it's alone, whether it's whatever it is, all I care about is you getting success. I took the first step. I took action. Okay, I'm going along. I'm hoping that everything's going to be rosy, and first roadblock. And they go, oh my gosh, this is harder than I thought. I give up. And it's like, whoa, wait. You just listen to me talk about buying buildings in Canada, all over Canada. You just listen to me talking about buying buildings in the US, right? Like Mel and I do in Ohio. you're going to give up on the first roadblock? No, 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 no. Where's that person that said, I want to be over here? I want to be a millionaire. I want to create generational wealth. I want to build a portfolio. I want to help my kids. I want to help my community, my church, my friends. No, no, no. Think about this person over here, and you're going to stop on the first roadblock because of fear of failure? Do not give the naysayers that satisfaction. Do not give the voice inside of your head saying, the person at my work was right. My parent was right. My friend was right. My spouse was right. I should have listened to them. No, 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 no. 2025, fear of failure. Take that and throw it out the window. You can do this. You have to take the first step, though. It is very simple. I was a firefighter. Guys, I was not a rocket scientist. I'm still not a rocket scientist, just to be honest with you. I was a firefighter. Okay. All I did, and Mel, is we took the first step. Have we made tons of mistakes? Yes. Go look at our YouTube video. I have a YouTube video that we made over $400,000 of mistakes on just our business structure. Okay. Go check it out. Don't leave right now, though. Let's finish the live and you guys go check it out after. So again, but if you're going to do this in 2025, you have to commit. You have to commit. If you're going to join the Action family, if you're going to let Mel and I help you with coaching and mentoring and experience, which again, send us a DM Action or click on that webinar. Check us out. We're live tomorrow night, and you can find out more. If you want to hear more about how we do it. But if you're going to join. Like none of this first roadblock I hit. It's going to be tough, and I'm out. You're not doing anyone a favor, right? Like we have so much success in the Action family because people don't give up. They show up. They're consistent. Will there be a roadblock? Yes. Right? Just like you invest in the stock market. Okay, let me wrap this up by talking about the accountants. I have a weekly finance meeting, and I'm not saying you need to do this. It's just with the size of our portfolio that Mel and I have and all the multiple different businesses that Mel and I have, every single week we meet with the financial controllers and the accountants. Okay? Every week. 1 week we'll talk about Canada. 1 week we'll talk about the US. 1 week we'll talk international. 1 week we'll talk property management company, like all that stuff. Okay. He was telling me, because now it's year end for a lot of companies, and here this is directly from the accountant. Guys, listen to this. You want to make money? Accounting is where you make your money. It's saving your money. Anyone can make money, but if you give half of it to the government, what's the point? So the accountant themselves were saying, again, because they have clients, they have people that have restaurants, people that do stocks, people that have businesses, people that are T4 employees, W2, 1099, self-employed. They see everything. Think about the accountants. They know which businesses make sense. They know what to invest in. What does my accountant invest in? Real estate. Imagine that. So he sees everything that everyone else is doing, and he focuses on real estate. So that should speak volumes to you right there. The other thing that he was saying, because Mel, I was talking to, anyway, banks and mortgage brokers this morning. We're probably going to do 2 refinances in Q1, maybe 3, depending on the renovations. We're definitely doing one in like the beginning of Q2, and then we're doing another one in May. That one's the start of Q3. And then there might be another 2 just depending on some other factors. We're probably going to do at least 4 to 6 refinances this year, which is amazing. Okay. And the accountant was saying, guys, I know you love real estate and I love real estate. He was saying that I talked to all my stock portfolio, stocks. I'm not dishing stocks here. Don't take it that way. He said, I'm talking to a lot of my stock clients and they're freaking out because they wanted money. And they took out money, which what happens when you take money out of stocks, guys? And I'm not an accountant. You trigger a taxable event. You trigger capital gains. You trigger that right away. So in order for you to get, the fruits of your labor by investing in stocks, you need to trigger a taxable event. And now they're all complaining and and him and I were laughing yesterday in a good way. We're not laughing at stocks, but we're laughing just going, yeah, I know. And we're just saying, because we're talking about the refinance, and we're saying, this is why we do real estate. Mel and I are going to trigger money this year, but we're doing it in a refinance. And a refinance, whether you're doing it in Canada or whether you're doing it in the US, is a tax-free event. It is a non-taxable event, right? You get to, this is why I love real estate. You get to have your pie and eat it too. What do I mean by that? This building that I'm in, I've had it since 2020. I've refinanced. This will be the one. Yeah, refinanced to pay out the creative financing. I refinanced it 2 years ago. And I think, is it 2 or 3? Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm refinancing it again since 2020. It's going to be, yeah, anyway, whatever. And it's a tax-free event. So I get to keep my building. I get to keep the cash flow. My cash flow might go down a little bit because I'm refinancing. I'm taking out higher debt, right? Which it is what it is. But I get to get that tax-free money, right? I get to eat it. And I get to keep my pie too. I get to keep the 18 residential units and the 5 commercial units, right? Whatever that is, 23 units in this building alone. That's the beauty of real estate. And that's why the account was saying, that's why I do real estate, Dave. That's why you do real estate. In order to get your money, you don't need to sell the farm. You don't need to not have your pie needed to, or not get whatever the saying is. But that's why I love real estate, guys. Again, once you understand it, it's a pretty simple system. It's numbers. If you guys see my story from yesterday, I was walking through that unit that used to have a lot of cat pee and ammonia, and we're now renovating it. Let's look at some quick math. I'll do it right in front of you. Okay. So this asset, it's straight up numbers. Let's do the math. The rent was $787. Okay. No, the market rent is $1,250. He's been there since I bought in 2017. He's been there since even before that. So market rent is $1,250 minus he paid $787. That equals $463 a month more. Again, I have not increased it to market rent since before owning it. I've refinanced this place multiple times. It's actually with CMHC Financing, Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation. So this is how much I'm increasing it a month. Times 12 equals $55.56. The market that this asset is in is somewhere between a 6 to 7% cap rate, right? The lower the cap rate, the more money, right? The higher the cap rate, the less money. So let's go conservative. Let's divide this by the lower amount, by 7%. So if I divide that 55.56 divided by 7% cap rate in this area, just by doing that renovation, that's probably going to cost me the flooring. I think it's going to be like between 8 to 10. I might do the shot. Anyway, it might cost me, let's say, $15K maximum. So my value just went up by $79,000, $80,000 by doing one renovation. That's on the low end. What was it? 5,556 divided by, let's say if the appraiser percent. Let's say the appraiser says, you know what, I'm going to give you, because I'm refinancing this one in this summer. Let's say the appraiser says, I'm going to give you 6% cap rate on the refinance. That's actually $92,000. So with one renovation, I'm literally going somewhere between, what was it, $80,000 to $92,000 in increased evaluation. This is why I love real estate. There's no feelings. There's no guessing. It's numbers. What's the net operating income? What's the cap rate? Boom. This is how much your asset just went up. Anyway, I'm going live with the Action Family. I could rent all day, guys. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully you're following us on all social media platforms. I'll see you next Wednesday where I'm going to be talking more about different things. All right. Bye for now.